Alright, so not only did 50 Cent survive getting shot 9 times, but he even chased Suge Knight with the UZI. Damn, there are many reasons why 50 Cent is considered a legend in the music industry. In the 2000s, he dominated the scene and became one of the most successful hip-hop artists in history. However, his reputation as a feared figure among other rappers stems not only from his album sales, but also because he's surprisingly ruthless. And to understand how he even became this way, we gotta go back to where it started, man. So the track Wanksta was among 50's early hits, where he aimed at rappers who fabricate stories about a life that they've never lived. And by looking at what 50 Cent has been through, it's no surprise that he would make a song about cap rappers, because 50's life in the streets of Queens was genuinely rough. His mother dealt drugs in South Jamaica, Queens, and single-handedly raised him until she unfortunately passed in a fire when he was only 8 years old. Following her death, 50 stayed with his grandparents, and it was inevitable that he was gonna go down the same path as his mother, because at 12 years old, he started selling drugs to sustain himself and his education, and while trying to keep his street activities on the low, he was caught taking firearms and shit to school. And since he got caught, he had to tell his grandparents that he was basically pushing keys. But in '94, things got way worse for 50 Cent. Not only was he caught selling cocaine to an undercover cop, but right after that, his house was raided by cops and they found a bunch of drugs and a gun. So he initially got 3 to 9 years in prison, but then he got off easy by going to boot camp for 6 months. A very fortunate situation for 50 Cent, but he could have gotten off way worse. He started deeping the fact that he could have lost a whole decade behind bars, so he started changing the way he moved. He thought the most viable option was to take rap way more seriously, and in 1996, one of his homies introduced him to Jam Master Jay. So 50 Cent already knew how to rap, but Jay taught him how to turn the bars into a full song. And they ended up making a song that never came out, and then 50 left Jay to sign a deal with Columbia Records. Some people in the industry knew about him, but they didn't know that he was about to take it to the next level. He dropped the track How to Rob, and on the song, he went after some of the biggest artists in the game, basically describing how he would rob them. And out of nowhere, 50 was getting responses from legends like Jay-Z, Big Pun, DMX, Wu-Tang, and more. And at that time, something like that happening was crazy. These days, it's common for rappers to blow up after one song going viral on social media, but back then, it was a lot harder to get any buzz on your name. So when 50 got responses from some of the biggest rappers in the world, it proved that he had the skills to take over the industry. Although 50 Cent was experiencing more success than anyone ever anticipated, he had not yet left his past street life behind. You see, someone attempted to end his life in May 2000. While at his grandmother's place, 50 entered the backseat of his friend's car, and as they prepared to get out of there, an individual ran up on them and started firing shots. 50 was hit 9 times, sustaining injuries to his chest, legs, arm, hand, and cheek. And despite surprisingly surviving the attack, he spent 2 weeks in the hospital and nearly half a year recovering from the gunshot wounds. And sources suggest that Daryl Baum, also known as Homo, was responsible for the shooting, but he was killed 3 weeks later before the police could even interrogate him. And even though no formal charges were caught for shooting 50 Cent, it is widely believed that the drug lord Kenneth McGriff behind the Supreme Team was responsible. Allegedly, McGriff hired the shooter, who formerly served as Mike Tyson's bodyguard. But 50 Cent wasn't the only guy that Kenneth McGriff was trying to take out. The drug lord also ordered the assassination of Jam Master Jay, and in 2007, McGriff received a life sentence for putting $50,000 on his rivals' heads. But despite being shot 9 times, 50 Cent turned the experience into a hit with his song Many Men, in which he raps, "Now it's clear that I'm here for a real reason, cause he got hit like I got hit, but he ain't fucking breathing." You feel what I'm saying? But most fans are unaware that the shooting incident that happened in May of 2000 was not the first attempt on 50 Cent's life. You see, sometime before the shooting, 50 Cent was also in hot water with Ja Rule, who was the main artist for Murder Inc. Rumors circulated that 50's friend robbed Ja Rule, and Ja Rule believed that 50 was the mastermind behind the lick. And what ended up happening was that 50 encountered the Murder Inc. crew at a studio, and Black Child, who is another rapper, ended up stabbing him. And remember when we took a look at 50 Cent's song Wanksta? 50 Cent didn't mention Ja Rule's name explicitly in this song, but 50 later confirmed that Ja Rule fit the description perfectly in the song, implying that he's not really living the life that he's rapping about. After Ja Rule filed a restraining order against him, 50 responded with one of the most savage diss tracks ever produced called Back Down, and throughout the song, 50 relentlessly attacked Ja Rule, delivering lines such as, "Maybe I'm so disrespectful cause to me you're a mystery. I know from your hood, you have no history. Never poke nothing, never pop nothing. Just stop front. Jay put you on, X made you hot, and now you run around like you some big shot." And even though Ja had 2 #1 albums to his name, it was crazy to see 50 Cent, a relatively new rapper in the industry, just straight up destroy his career with Back Down. And not only that, the diss track appeared on Get Rich or Die Trying, which we all know is one of the best selling rap albums ever, which eventually sold 9 million copies and more than 800,000 copies in the first week alone. And if that wasn't enough, the whole world listened to 50 Cent just tear apart Ja Rule. But that was nothing compared to 50's beef with the game, when their beef resulted in a chaotic shootout in the center of NYC. So let me explain. Following 50's takeoff in the industry, Dr. Dre decided to recruit the game into the G-Unit crew to just run up his record sales. The East met the West and it seemed to be blending in perfectly at the time, but things became tense when 50 expected the game to engage in beefs with every single artist that he had previously beefed with. You know, following his song How to Rob and stuff. And we all know 50 had a history of beefing with a lot of rappers, and when the game didn't want to do the same thing, 50 completely cut ties with him and publicly announced that he will be removed from G-Unit during a Hot 97 interview. And when the game was informed of the news, him and his crew ran up on 50's crew outside of Hot 97. It was crazy. They were like 30 deep and they got to bussin', but luckily no one was seriously injured from this. And according to the game, 50 had a blank expression on his face. He was just ready to up the pole. And I just think that removing someone from a crew is cold, but just getting into a street shootout with them is reckless. But another reason why a lot of rappers fear 50 Cent is because of the encounter that he had with Suge Knight. So Suge Knight is infamous for using violence and intimidation to control the entire West Coast after co-founding Death Row Records with Dr. Dre back in the 1990s, and he is just known for being a menace in rap history. But Dr. Dre eventually ended up leaving Death Row to establish his own record label after some drama, and Suge refused to forgive Dre after this. Suge Knight and around 30 of his associates confronted 50 Cent, and this was during the recording of the In the Club music video, and everyone at the music video shoot were surprised when Suge pulled up with a massive entourage. He is rumored to have played a role in the death of Biggie and Pac's death, and he is now in prison for running over and killing a man with his truck. But all these things were still not enough to intimidate 50 Cent. When Suge pulled up, 50 stood his ground and calmly asked Suge, "What's up, man? What are you trying to do?" And according to Bizarre from D12, Suge took a puff of his cigar and signaled to his crew that it was time to get the hell out of there. While there are rumors that 50 upped the UZI on Suge Knight during the confrontation, there is no evidence to support it. Nonetheless, it's pretty easy to see that none of these rappers want to smoke with 50 Cent.